Is Hot Girl Summer still happening this year?
How many carbs are in a White Claw?
If I squat every day, will I get a dump truck?
I'm Shay.
I'm Leah.
We are Two-Tone Training.
You're listening to Don't Tone Alone. What up, what up, what up? What up, squad?
We are back. It is Thursday. We took a week off of podcasting, and it feels good to be back in the studio. We think we needed that little rest time, and now we are back in action.
I know. We had 1 week where we did 2 podcasts in a week. Oh, my God.
The girls needed some rest.
I aged a few years. I'm back. I'm feeling young, beautiful, ready to go, ready to record with our special guest.
Yeah, during that week, we captured a special guest.
Throughout the net, captured. Shay, I'm going to let you introduce.
And lured her into the studio. Okay, I'm just going to, first I'll introduce her. I've got Jacqui Reed here with us. She is one of my close friends, one of my inspirations, role models, and I'm so excited to have her with us today while we talk through all things nutrition. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty, and then we're also going to cover some bodybuilding. So, Jack, why don't you introduce yourself and give the listeners, I almost said viewers, the listeners, kind of your background and maybe some of your credentials.
Ooh, thanks, Shay. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Oh my God, guys, she's so sweet.
So grateful.
My heart.
I'm Jacqui. I've been coaching, for 7-8 years now. Movement, nutrition. Food, man.
Food.
Yeah, I knew I liked her for so many reasons,
yes.
but her passion for food, I was like,
unmatched.
Yep, that's
Love
it.
food. Love food. Love to eat. Love to try different foods.
Preach.
Cultural, all of it. Experiences, moments, all comes back to food, right? So, yeah, I've been coaching for a little while now. I bodybuilt for some time back in 2015, 16, 17, did about 7 shows.
Oh, dang.
Natural Federation, and it was eye-opening for sure. And before that, just a kid that loved to eat, ate a lot of food, went through a lot of ups and downs with food. So I've been here, there, and everywhere, and now I coach people to strengthen their relationship with food is really what it comes down to. I think, we confine ourselves to fad diets or,
right.
this or that, and really it comes down to how can you approach food in a sustainable way, in a healthy way, and healthy is such a blurry word. Talk about blurry words a lot. I only hear me use that phrase a lot. But just having a good relationship with food is what it comes down to. So that's my background, and that's what I focus on. And I am more geared toward the interpersonal and kind of psychology behind things. I mean, obviously there's science and things to, how things work out and getting to your best goals and outcomes. But I think you have to have your mind right in order to do that. None of that application works unless you're not doing well with yourself and how you approach food and food choices. So that's my mantra.
Right.
That's
and
me.
I think that's what just stood out so much to me about you is that it is so mental. I think people sometimes are just so caught up in whatever it is, the macros or I need to look a certain way. And I think when you and I sat down finally and we're talking through nutrition and you were just saying that I need to dig deep, Shay. It's not
a relationship.
We're not just talking about the calories in something or fats, whatever. And we're talking about your relationship with food and why you eat the things you do. And yeah, I thought it was just so interesting. And I know, so as far as your certification in nutrition, what was that process like? When did you get that?
Yeah, so Precision Nutrition, it's widely known. It's self-guided, but pretty extensive, test at the end there. But it goes through the basics, the science, and then starts to talk about application and then coaching. But what I loved is that I had so much experience up until that point with, fad dieting and Weight Watchers and all this stuff. We'll talk about it as we go through things. But so when I got to that point, I felt really good about applying and taking in what I was learning. When you're younger and you're in school, they make you read things and do things, and you're like, sure, checking a box. But as I was going through this, I was like, bringing that back to me and how this information would have been helpful maybe prior to starting bodybuilding and all of that.
That was my next question. So you started bodybuilding and then you got your nutrition.
Yeah.
Sorry. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So wonderful time learning about bodybuilding and the nutrition that complements it or is necessary for it, I should say. But coming out of it, I mean, other than kind of getting yourself back up from in a caloric, increase, week over week, I didn't really know how to we call it reversing, right? Getting back into normalcy. So for lack of a better term, I blew up. And I got on the other end of the spectrum very quickly because I was so restricted. And, that's just a part of my journey. I don't take back a day of it, not one bite, nothing, because it's what's brought me here. I get to talk to you guys. So, I mean, that's just how I learned was through application. And then being able to talk to people about what their goals are and what they are trying to achieve. Nutrition is so individual. Like it's so about the person and what they're trying to do. And I think there are obviously best practices and there are methodologies and there are definitely things that you stick to that are foolproof. But you have to know what's going on with the other person and not just like what their goals are, but kind of what their lifestyle is like too. So
I think that's a hard part because, Shay and I will get questions all the time. Like what do you eat and share your macros. And I think we touched on it in past podcasts is that I like a lot of fitness influencers nowadays are not sharing their macros and they're saying, you know what, that's not really helpful if I tell you how many calories I'm eating because it's so different than what calories you need, what macros you need to properly fuel yourself.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's the complexity of the person and the human, but then there's the simplicity, the in and the out. You want to take some weight off? You're in a deficit, period, end of story.
Right.
You want to, work toward performance, goals. Maybe you're in a maintenance or even in a slight surplus, right? More in, more out kind of a thing. It can be as easy or as difficult as you make it. That's why the mindset and the relationship aspect is so important because once you have that down, then you can go in and get very granular, very tactical and say, okay, these are my calories. And then I'm going to break down, my macronutrients, my protein, my carbs, my fat. I'm going to look at my sugar intake a bit, my fiber intake, right? My micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, things like that. And you can go there and then apply. And after the application is sustainability. And that's like my big buzzword. It's like, is it sustainable? Mm-hmm. Are you happy? If you're going to apply restriction, you're not going to be able to maintain that. I know I've done it many times. It's not easy.
I love that. Yeah.
No, and I love that you're talking about like just you've been on both ends of the spectrum as far as and just your relationship with food and fitness has changed. And I think that's what makes you a really great coach is that you're able to kind of relate to people no matter what part of their journey that they're in. And you can be like, I've been at this stage and this is kind of where my mind was at and things like that.
Yeah. So I'd love to kind of dive deeper into your journey and I guess talk about the initial stages of when you first started to focus on nutrition. Like at what part of your journey were you like, okay, I need to look at my calories. I need to look at my macronutrients. Like what was that like?
Yeah. So,
taking her
way
back.
Throw it back.
Way back. Well, I'd say started to really unpack and look at my intake when I started to bodybuild. So my very, very best friend, who is my previous bodybuilding coach, her name's Terry. She's lovely. Hi, Terry.
What up, girl?
She's great. And so she taught me how to track, using my Fitness Pal. I mean, it's pretty well known. And so we just started with, with calories, right? And okay, Jack, we need to get you down to do a show. So you're going to be in a deficit. We know you're working out this much, per day throughout the week. Okay, this is what you're going to need to consume from a protein perspective, from a carbohydrate perspective, and from a fat perspective. And again, different for everybody and where you're at when you start a show too.
Yeah, and I think the common folk, if you will kind of say, how do you know how many calories you're supposed to be intaking? And when you say deficit just to really break it down for people. So she's saying she's going to consume less calories than she's burning throughout the day. So that,
yeah.
Yes.
And there's a lot that goes into it because burning is not just what your activity level is when you're exercising.
Right.
You've got your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So like just the things that like even just me sitting here doing this, right? That's kind of like, that's part of your NEAT. Right. And there's a really great infographic that we can maybe slap in here.
And slap it in.
And slap it in. But essentially you have to understand kind of what your activity level looks like in all facets. And then you can decide your deficit. Then you would obviously take, your protein is king because it keeps you satiated and full. And that's like where majority of your energy is coming from, right, is protein. And then your carbs and fats, everybody's different. Some people might respond better physiologically, cognitively, from an energy perspective with more carbs or more fat. Really depends on the person. So there's a lot of trial and error too. You get this number and you're like, okay, I'm here. No. And I think I told you, like, and especially with women, and I hope maybe we'll touch on this a little bit more, but with your cycle, you don't have one set of macronutrients and a caloric intake when you're dealing with a cycle, because right before you're about to have your period, you should be taking in a little bit more because your body's working overtime. You just think about it from a common sense perspective. You don't have to be a doctor or scientist. Like, you're going to need a little bit more because you're going to feel fatigued because your body is preparing for something huge. So I know I went on a little bit of it.
No.
Well, it's so interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I just haven't even really thought
we get
about
questions
it like
about this all the time. Yeah.
So just the lady to answer our questions.
Right.
So I mean, I'm sure your diet and what you're eating has changed quite drastically, especially when you're bodybuilding versus kind of what you're eating now. So maybe let's start with what you're eating now, like a typical day of eating. Like, what are some of your favorite meals that you love to incorporate into your like daily routine?
Well, not intentionally. I think it just started to happen, but I'm pretty pescatarian, if you will.
Okay.
I'm Italian and Lebanese. I eat any and all food. And I think you guys had sent me a couple of questions and like weird foods and things like that. I love a Lebanese dish called gibby, and it's like raw.
Ooh.
It's raw meat. Yeah.
Ooh.
And with grain, and it's like you eat it
Next time we're making this a potluck.
Okay, sounds good.
Confused why we don't have appetizers here.
But anyway, so like I have grown up eating. I was very much the mandate was you try it or you don't get out of your seat. When I was a kid, right? You at least try it. I know other people's like you finish it.
Karen was the same way.
That like reminds me, like my mom would like set the timer for Chad to eat his carrot. Like, he has to eat this one carrot.
Legit a countdown. Chad's like sweating in the corner. 30 seconds left. Eat the carrot, Chad. Or no TV.
Well, she knew.
She knew.
There's so much that can come from a carrot. From a benefit perspective.
She's like, honestly, Karen, you did a great job.
So here, it comes back, and again, to simplify, but then obviously there's complexity. Like you are what you eat.
Yeah.
It's not entirely wrong, right? Like
there's some truth to it.
So going back to what I enjoy, I just geared more toward what was happening with my body, and it started to happen when the pandemic hit. Like shrimp is like big bang for your buck protein wise, and like I'm a volume eater. Homegirl likes to eat a lot.
I'm the same way though.
Yeah. So I was like, ooh, and so I would just shrimp, scallops, shellfish, a lot of protein, not a lot of calories. So that's what I started to do. It just made sense, and I enjoy it. And yeah, just the chicken, pork, beef, I just kind of veered away from. I just went to the West Coast not too long ago, and I went to the most amazing steakhouse in San Diego called Rare Society, which I'll be hitting up again soon. And I had my first steak in like 2 years. So it's not like a moral, ethical thing for me. It's just like how my body responds. And I did have a phenomenal steak, and that was delicious. So going back to my foods, I'm digressing. My God.
No, it's good. It's great.
So yeah, I definitely am more in that but like I cook with grass-fed butter. I consume whey protein majority in like a shake or with my oats. So my staple is usually like oats, protein powder, usually vanilla whey, peanut butter, blueberries, bananas, cinnamon. I love that. That's like my favorite. And creatine.
We love our oatmeal.
Yeah. And I've added in creatine now. So another thing I want to plug too is I'm working with a performance nutrition coach right now. He's wonderful, super smart. I always, practice this without fail is like the only way you can get better is to continue to learn. So I'm forever a student. So I hired this man. His name's Kiefer. He's wonderful. And, we just started adding in some supplementation and changing some timing of foods because I just want to get stronger, faster. I just want to move better.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I needed to change things a little bit. Not necessarily like increase, but change things. So
I have a question for you. So I think Shay and I talk to a lot of our friends because we are the oatmeal like queens. We always talk about how much we love our oatmeal for breakfast. And the response we get is that I don't want to eat something so heavy in the morning. Okay. So do you find that that's key? Oatmeal is great for if you're training in the morning, or do you think eat it regardless? Or what's your advice for someone that's kind of like, that's too much for me. I can't even fathom that.
Totally. So you don't have to do what I just explained. My oatmeal of choice kind of little ditty there. You can definitely do it and scale it to how it suits you. But I think a little bit of something before you work out is imperative. And I was talking with my training coach, my coach that trains me, and then my nutrition coach, and just like an apple or a banana, like something, right? Yeah. Something, maybe more carbohydrate dense, just because from an energy perspective, it's going to help you. What I just shared is usually what I eat probably after I work out, but before I usually eat like a banana or an apple because I'm the same way. But it wasn't always that way. I would sometimes have like a full meal before I worked out. I've always been an early morning worker-outer. I don't worker-outer. I don't really jam with the late night sessions. Or after work. I don't know how people do that. But
honestly, same.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can understand that feeling. But I think too, like try things out, test things out, and understand that you're not going to get it in one day. It's like I always please just keep going, keep trying, try different things because it's important. You don't know. You have to kind of A/B test and see where you're at. And one day maybe you're doing more intense, like maybe you're lifting, doing some more strength training, so be a little bit more strenuous. Maybe you're running. So still some strain there, but not, it's more endurance based. All right, maybe you're doing some yoga, right? So you're not, hitting it as hard, but you still need something. And there are people that work out, you want to call it fasted IF, whatever. I say you're just not eating. Right, until you decide to eat.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too, is like we get so caught up in like labels and things like that. So to answer your question, Leah, I think it just really depends on what activity you're going to be doing, understanding and knowing yourself, going back to that, like being connected with your relationship with food, and know that like one choice or one thing that you do, like if you start to feel a little like while you're working out, stop.
Yeah.
Work out later. Work out tomorrow. Right? It's not the end of the world. Like, no one wants to toss their cookies on the gym floor. Ew.
Yeah, not good for anyone.
No.
So does that?
That absolutely answered it.
But even just like some of the meals that you send me, and I feel like I get in my text, I'm like, Leah, we need to make this. Like, it looks so good. Even like the Trader Joe's. What did you have last night? The Trader Joe's like cauliflower gnocchi.
I am a creature of habit too. And I don't think it's from body. I think it's just like when I like something, I just go for it and I keep going. But I like remix it. And I just that was my depiction of a DJ. So yeah, I had shrimp. Let's break it down. I had like 5 ounces of shrimp frozen. Man, I get frozen Whole Foods shrimp. I don't want anything like fancy. I'm not going to the
That's
fish
what I
market
also
every
like
day.
too. Some people think like eating healthy, you have to be like so over the top fancy with it. And I love that you can keep it basic, simple, make it fast, but still good.
Yeah, Shay came home from hanging out with you one time and was like, Leah, we need to simplify. I'm like, okay.
If I've learned anything.
Well, yeah, simplify, and seasoning. That's it. Right?
Oh, so put it on a pillow. Simplify and season.
That's it. Like no one who wants to eat, like simplify. Yes. Like you don't have to have 10,000 ingredients, but like flavor.
Season that.
Sure. That's why I love Trader Joe's all day.
The chili lime seasoning and the everything but the bagel seasoning. Staples.
Yep. So yeah, I had about 5 ounces of shrimp. I had the entire bag of cauliflower gnocchi. So really, it's like 2 servings. Like you can cut it in half.
Yeah.
Homegirl was hungry last night, so I ate the whole thing. Pro tip with the cauliflower gnocchi, you got to get it olive oil, high heat. defrost, and then like shake them around. People are like, oh, they're mushy. I'm like, oh, you're not cooking them right. You got to cook them right. You got to get them brown on the outside. Yeah. There's you know, and it helps that I grew up with a mother that's a phenomenal cook. Phenomenal. It's the reason why I was a little beefy as a kid. All right, we didn't
shout out mom.
Pump
me right up.
Right? No, we didn't always seconds. Yeah, that's a whole different story. Yeah. My battle with overconsumption, but we can talk about that another time. And then I had I think it was snap peas or snow peas, mushrooms, like a little medley from Whole Foods, and then there's an eggplant capanata that Trader Joe's makes in a jar that I use as kind of like a sauce, like capanata. Like you would put it on like you could use it with bruschetta or something like that, but I put it in as like a sauce. But you could do like tomato sauce or something like that just to add some more flavor, and that's what I had.
And I love what you said, and I really want to break this down for people that just like maybe like we're speaking in these terms, and I just want to make sure that everyone understands who's listening. So you talked about volume eating. Mm-hmm. So out of the food that you just listed, everything is fairly low calorie, right? So Jack is looking at her MyFitnessPal, and she's like, I have maybe 600 calories for dinner or something, maybe less. She's seeing what protein she needs to hit, what fats, what carbs, and then she's plugging and playing. So all the ingredients that you said, snap peas, you said shrimp, these are all lower calorie foods, but there's a lot of volume there.
Right.
So you're eating the meal for 20, 30 minutes. You know, like as humans, we like that. We're like, okay, it's not one bite and I'm done.
Right.
So I think that's a great tip too, finding those lower calorie foods that are still going to fill you up.
Yeah, absolutely. But then there's like times where I have potato gnocchi. Like I have what we would call, you know, if there's any Italians listening right now, I'm probably like, this girl eats cauliflower. Now I eat regular too.
Let it be known. Don't disown me.
Don't. And like going out. I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about that too. We're going to cover that subject. Yeah. But like eat the things, like, there's artistry in food. Like it's just a beautiful like thing to consume and experience, and you don't need to limit yourself. But when you're, you know, for the majority of the time working toward a goal, you know, it's volume. We like to have a lot of food. That's not everybody though. I've met people that are like, I forget to eat. Now I think that is batshit insane. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah. I can't relate to those people. I'm confused.
There are people like that, and like they're fine with just having something really small and condensed. And
no, like
fine.
Leah and I, when anyone like suggests even like a tapas place, we're like, no, I don't want to go there.
You go to the tapas place and you order like 10.
Yeah, but you're like, I usually end up broke and hungry after a tapas.
Broke and hungry. That's accurate. Spot on.
I'm just like,
broke,
I don't know.
pissed, hungry, annoyed, hangry.
But going back to, so I love the way that you had talked through like kind of because that is my process, but everybody has, I call it your puzzle, like your Jenga, right? Yeah. Like what's going to fit in your puzzle is going to be different from mine and yours, right? And what you have left to kind of like play with. And also, newsflash, going over every once in a while, it's not gonna kill your goals.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, because if your goal is to get rid of a certain amount of fat in a certain amount of time, in a small amount of time, it's not ideal. I mean, you can do it, definitely, but you didn't put on maybe the weight that you're trying to lose in 2 weeks. So how on earth do you think you're going to fucking take it off in 2 weeks? Come on.
Preach.
You know what I'm saying? So that's important too. And that's why I talk about sustainability and looking at the big picture long term.
Yeah. And I think anyone who's starting off on their fitness journey, they have a hard time wrapping their heads around, oh, I can't even imagine tracking my food. That's so much work. It seems like such a to-do. Guys, it's so helpful.
It is.
MyFitnessPal, download the app. You see your calories that you're supposed to intake for the day. And I want to ask you again if there's like a formula for how many calories you should be eating. And then throughout the day, you plug, you play. A lot of the times you can even scan the barcode on the food that you're eating. And it just gives you a good idea. Track for 2-3 weeks, and then moving forward, you're going to have an idea of how much you should be consuming each day. And you might be surprised, I've been under consuming, or I've been way over consuming. It's just really helpful.
Yeah. So going back to kind of that in versus out, I think it's important. It is so individualized, and like there is a calculation, if you will, and we can put that up
and slap it here.
Add that in. Because me trying to convey it verbally is probably going to be a botch job. So what is important though is, I guess, seeing the forest through the trees. Is that have you ever heard of this term?
Unfamiliar with that one, but that's a new one. That's a new one.
Seeing the trees through the forest? I don't know. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. But and I'm not trying to like veer away from the numbers and the numeric part, because you need that. It's important. But I think it's really assess, like, are you trying to lose weight? Not everybody on their fitness journey or nutrition journey is trying to lose weight. They might be trying to get stronger. They might be trying a new activity. They might be getting ready for, maybe they're going to go and climb, some sort of mountain or something like that. So that's why this is not a plug or to try to, get us any sort of like business, but you really should consult with a professional. Because my fitness pal is great, but they're,
not a doctor.
They're not a doctor, and they're only taking like, it's baseline, right? It's generic, right? And everybody is so different. So it's important to keep that in mind. So if you're really interested in like being serious about a goal, I think you should hire a coach.
Yeah, I agree. And I liked what Leah was saying about like that track for like a little bit. And then it's not to say you have to track for the rest of your life or every single day and be so on top of it. And yeah, it is a lot of work, and sometimes it can be annoying. Like sometimes you go out to dinner and you're like, I don't even know what's in this. I don't want to track it, and you don't necessarily need to.
And we've gone through waves even. Like we stopped tracking for a few weeks, and did we notice a little bit of a difference? Maybe, but we still had the idea of, okay, I know I should be having about this much every day.
Right. It's a tool.
Right.
It's a tool. It's not a lifeline. It's a tool, and I'm really glad that we circled back on that, because it's important to understand, weighing your food and eyeballing it at first is probably not ideal. Get yourself a scale, be aware. What's in 4 ounces of ground beef or 6 ounces of ground beef is probably much different than what you think it is. It could be a lot more, it could be a lot less. So that's important. But then stepping away from the tool, I told you I just came back from the West Coast and I didn't track for 2 weeks. And
You look great, sweetie.
Thank you. Well, and it's like, and I felt good. My energy was where it needed to be.
Yeah.
And up here was fine. Was great, actually. And I was talking with my coach about this, and he was so jazzed. And that's the thing, because that's what keeps us going and helps us make our next decision, is like how we're feeling here and here, right? And so all of these great things and best practices and tools and, volume eating and low calorie choices of food, it's great, but you just have to have a good grip on being able to make the next sound choice. And we're not always there. I mean, I'm an emotional eater, big time.
Yeah.
I still struggle. That's why I hired a coach. Like understanding that there's no perfect way. It's just the way that you're doing it now, and that it works for you now, and that you're doing the best that you can now with the tools that you have. So yes, it is a tool, but don't get caught up in needing it all the time. And people that are like, you track your food. Well, you track your money, don't you? Going in and out, your bank account, right? People look at their online banking almost every day. People look at their investments all the time. What's the difference?
Don't ever let someone make you feel weird for caring about what you're putting into your body. Like you said, that fuels your entire life.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I even heard someone say the other day, they're like, food tracking, you can kind of relate it to almost like driving somewhere without directions. So like you don't know how to get there, like you don't really know what you're putting in your body type thing. And so look, how are you going to get there?
Right.
So just having an idea, okay, now that you've been there before, now that you've tracked for a little bit, okay, now I have somewhat of an idea. Like I know that I take a left here and I head west.
I can't help but crack up right now because Shay and I are the worst with directions. We can go somewhere 20 times and just be like, where are we? We're supposed to turn where? So, but I think that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Just not for us. But I do want to go back to, you talk about like relationships with food and how that's really the most important thing. And I can say, like, even for myself, like I went through stages, like even last summer, I was probably like the thinnest I'd ever been. And I think just going to eat meals, I would feel some sort of anxiety. Depending on what I was eating, I would just be like, oh, is this meal going to make me gain weight and whatever? And it's really like breaking that down and coming to terms with the mental aspect of a meal isn't just a meal. It's emotions are with it. So I would love for you to talk a little bit more about.
Yeah. Well, what I do when I work with people is I provide an assessment, an intake form, and a lot of it has to do with, what's worked for you in the past and what hasn't. And then I have a follow-up conversation with that person because I need to understand a little bit more about trauma, because we all have it. It's not like isolated to a certain group of people or an extreme circumstance. Growing up, I would get, called a glutton when I would eat my second portion. I won't say which family member said that.
They're not invited.
Just
to
noted.
The family gatherings.
But there's so many little things. I mean, I cheered in high school, and I had a cheerleading coach, and we were at cheerleading camp, and she put her hand on my abdomen region and was like, "Oh, you'd be great if you just lost a couple more." God. I had an ex when I was in college, told me he'd be more attracted to me if I were thinner. Words direct when we were breaking up. So tell me that doesn't directly contribute to still the struggle I have. And understanding that we all have it. I think that's why the community aspect is so important, and sharing these sorts of things, because we all deal with it. But at my leanest, show ready, was I psyched to get on stage? All of that, yes. But was I hungry? I was so hungry. Yeah. And I just wanted some good food to enjoy. And I think, when I started to go back down that road, it was both ends of the spectrum. No, don't do it. Just do it. You deserve it. Or let's find that middle ground. So I think, when you understand and assess where you're at in life and the different things that are happening, your career, your family, your romantic life, and all of that, and you sit down and you give your body the respect it deserves. That's my biggest, if no one takes anything else away from this podcast, is your body allows you to move and talk and experience and love and laugh and play and do all of these things. Why would you not treat it with the utmost respect? You're in a job interview and you're, talking to that panelist and you're, sitting up straight and you're being polite and you're well-spoken, you're giving that respect, or you're with somebody and you're not on your phone, and give your body that respect too. So that's something else that you can pause and think about before you're about to eat something maybe that's not so ideal. But then also on the flip side of it, give yourself a break and enjoy things, and know that it's one moment in time, and it's going to come and it's going to go. And be real with yourself. How many of those moments are you having? How many? Yeah. They're adding up. I'm not losing weight, Jacqui. I'm in a deficit. Are you? You know what I mean? Kind of a thing. So, I don't know. Again, I feel like I'm going big, but I'm trying to come back into what
Jacqui,
you're saying.
I was just tearing up when you were talking about your body and how to treat it with the utmost respect. It just gave me chills. It really did.
It's, I did not coin that. That's Kaisa. I don't know. She's huge. She's a big influence, but you are more than your body. That's her big phrase that she talks about. And I resonate with that because my body's done so much for me and it means so much to me, but I'm a soul. I'm a person. No matter what shape, size I am, I'm here to make a positive impact on people's lives. And that wasn't always the case. Been a lot of therapy, a lot of spiritual practice, meditation. There's a whole other things that go into it. So we're talking about food. We're talking about, and I know we've probably veered off a little bit, but there's so much more that goes into it than just go to the grocery store, buy these things, hit your macros, get your workouts in, and you're going to see yourself there in no time. But you have to be good here and here in order for that to happen. So, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God, I'm I don't even know how to follow. Mic drop. Yeah. No, it's so true. And it's amazing to see just kind of where you're at now, the relationship you have with your food, your body, it is inspirational. And we didn't even really talk about how we met. And so we need to circle back. We should have done this at the beginning of the podcast. So usually for our guests, typically I slide into their DMs. But Jacqui, I slid up to her squat rack. I had been seeing her throughout the gym. You guys know, and if you go to the gym at the same time every day, you tend to see those regulars. So Jacqui was one of those people that I would be wow. I don't know. I just admire her working out. And even Leah and I, when we were working out together, we're that girl's such a badass.
Yeah.
Not only was it her tattoos, but just the way she moves, I don't know.
The confidence.
Yeah. It was just something. And I was Leah, she's it. And I feel like
get her on the
like,
podcast.
And we talk about like, I don't know. I feel like in some of the other podcasts, like making conversation with people at the gym. So like, I feel like one day I was like, oh, like, are you using that? And like the next day I was like, oh, I'll use a squat rack next to her.
Pulled the old, are you using that?
Yep. And then I feel like finally I was like, I'm going to take the earbud out and I'm gonna
let her know.
Yeah, because you guys know, I don't play.
I'm not gonna lie, she's a little scary to approach in the gym. She has that resting gym face that you're like, up.
Well, I do love to smile when I'm jump roping, or I like maybe
I just usually catch you at the
you met me when I had first joined, and I was nervous. I hadn't been in like a commercial public gym in I don't know 2 years at that point. I bought a Rogue rack for my apartment and was squatting it out in my living room.
It's epic in there.
So I've learned though that like you got to enjoy what you're doing. Oh my gosh, like why else are we here? Like why? Like it's so stern, which is fine. Like let people be them. I'm not gonna judge you if you're focused and determined, but just lighten up and have some fun. So it was nice that you approached me, and it kind of jogged me a little bit. I'm like, you can't be so, you have to be focused because you're there to, it's called a workout, right? Working.
Right.
But you also, want to make sure that you make yourself available to the wonderful experiences and people around you. So I'm so glad you did the move.
The one ear.
Sometimes we advise against it. Depends. You have to know when the moment is to take out the headphone.
Yeah.
There's some people at the gym. I'm like, oh, like glue it to my face.
Gorilla glue it to my ears.
Yeah. Nope, can't hear you.
But I want to ask you if you have any advice that you would tell yourself, like when you were first starting out in your fitness journey, for those people that are trying to tighten up on their nutrition or really focus on their nutrition. Like, do you have any pieces of advice?
Yeah, just keep going. There's no on off or like good bad. You can use those terms. That's fine. Just there's so much nuance in life.
Mm-hmm.
So just know that you've got time. You do. You have time. There's that delicate balance between knowing you have time and control, right? And understanding that like it's not going to be easy. Like especially losing weight. It's ongoing and there's going to be stumbles, the term getting back on. What are you getting back onto? I mean, really, just keep going. Keep pressing forward. Lean on people, talk about things, write things out, be honest with yourself. I mean, that's the best advice I can give. And I am disgustingly optimistic. I'm glass half full. I wasn't always that way, but it's a choice, and it's a choice that's benefited me. I don't think you just arrive there. But I think you just know that you have another food choice, another mealtime, another opportunity to make a choice that you feel good about. And then remember the feeling that you feel when you make a not so great choice. Like let it sink in, let it feel it a little bit. Don't spin with it. Don't, beat yourself up over it, but remember what it feels like. And then remember what the feeling of like accomplishment feels like when you hit your targets, when you're, on a good pace, and let that momentum fuel you. But I think, we talk motivation versus discipline. Gosh, that's another topic I could go on and on for days. But like you do have to bring in and usher in that discipline mechanism, or you're not going to see those results.
Right. You're not going to wake up every day being like, I'm so excited to eat healthy.
Right. And you need help. And again, it's not a plug, but like I've got years of experience, and I have 2 coaches right now. I have a coach that does my programming because I wanted to move better. And I have a coach for my nutrition because I want to get even more advanced with how I approach food. And so I can maybe pass that on to other people too. So I guess my main advice is just keep going and ask for help. You don't have to hold it all in. And if you're not a person that's, very outward with your emotions and things like that, that's okay. But nobody's alone. I mean, we all have to eat to live. Right. And it's a struggle because it's how, again, you take in experiences and cultures and things like that. And I think we get so caught up in like, oh, did I make the right choice? I make the wrong choice. Like you made the choice, assess it, now move forward. Keep the eye direction forward. It's probably my biggest, I guess, blanket statement.
I love that. Keep going. And it takes time. And I think That's what people need to remember. It's not overnight. It's an overnight success. One of my favorite things about your programming and just the first Excel spreadsheet that you sent to me when we kind of started to work together, and it was like peak, pit, commit. So when you're like, okay, like remember those feelings, and that's kind of what I'm relating it back to. And I love that. It's like taking a look at the mental aspect of it. So the peak of your week, remembering how good those high highs felt and what caused those high highs, and then the pit. So maybe it was a bad decision that you made, or I don't know, maybe it has nothing to do with food. It's just kind of like looking at your week in total. And then I love the commit. I don't know, it took me back almost a little bit. I was like, okay, shoot, like what am I committing to next week, and what am I going to do differently? Like sometimes we talk about the end result, but then we don't take a look at, okay, well, what switch do we need to make?
Right.
What move do we need to make in order for that switch to happen?
Yep, the driving behaviors around that. And I think when we talk about a commit, I think I gave you my little acronym, like your SMART goal. So small, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So like a SMART goal, right? Something feasible. 8 ounces of water more per day. Awesome. Great.
Perfect.
It doesn't need, you don't have to boil the ocean, right? And like do this whole grandiose thing. And my coach will say, I'll have like 6. Like, no. Just let's focus on like one thing, Jacqui.
Right.
Because, and that's great. That's why I work with them, like just to reel me back in and remind me that it's, it's a daily choice and daily behaviors, right? That are going to get you to where you need to be. And it's that honesty. That's why that reflection piece is important. And I harp on it so much because self-awareness is like the biggest tool to like get you to whatever goal you want in life. You want to, increase your savings or get a job. You need to be aware of, be honest with yourself. So I think I'm glad that that's helped you. I enjoy it. I worked in tech and I used to lead a team, and we'd have, weekly one-on-ones, and I would actually make them do the same thing.
Yeah, you can apply it to so many different things. Yeah. And you guys at home, even if you're not in the Boston area,
send you the spreadsheet.
Yeah, we'll send you. We have so many things to like plug up.
plug.
So yeah.
But speaking of needing help, Tough Cookies has really helped us in our fitness journey. Shay.
Okay, well, Jacqui, I need to know, do you meal prep at all? I feel like you're pretty much like right now, but I'm guessing maybe when you were bodybuilding, you did meal prep a little bit.
I had the Tupperware out.
Oh, yeah.
I've got picture. I mean, if you go way back in my Instagram, I think there's still some pictures. I'm more like maybe a little bit more like family style. Like I'll make a good amount of something and be able to like mix and match and remix. Right now, I have the luxury of being able to make my food at the time that I'm eating it. But no, like large vats of like ground turkey and, or turkey meatballs or, and there's different ways to optimize like how you're, meal planning and meal prepping as far as like baking, sauteing, like different foods have different properties where you can get the most out of the nutrients. Like that's a whole other ball of wax that is great to touch upon. But right now I eat as I go. But I used to, I had things stacked
I feel
in the
like
fridge.
we know if we like you, or we know if we can connect with you if we go to your place and you have Tupperware. And like we're like, oh, they meal prep, it's on.
Oh my gosh, but I've gone through just such waves with it. Like I just am like, oh my gosh, Leah, I remember we just had weeks on end where we would just like every Sunday night, I'm like, Leah, you're chopping the Brussels sprouts. I will marinate
assembly
the chicken.
line.
Yeah, it was an assembly line. And it was like, I was like, I hate Sunday.
And it can be
Sunday.
daunting. And that's the thing, like taking a step back, going like, do I have to? Like if you're in a pinch and you're a very, very busy person, like prep a few meals, like get something in place. But if not, like there's also so much fun in like making food. Right. And there are people that can't be bothered, and maybe they try a meal prep service.
For sure. No, honestly, it was such a game changer for us because I think we even said this in a previous podcast where like by day 3, that same meal prep chicken ain't as cute as it was on day 1. Like you just don't want those soggy Brussels sprouts. And I feel like we're living in luxury, Leah, with this meal prep service.
Yeah, Shay and I are both still working full time. on top of two-tone training. So we are busy ladies, busy gals, and Tough Cookies has been such a game changer. Shay, what do you have over there?
Oh my God, the meals are like unreal. Like I don't even know how I would make some of this stuff, but it's just, I don't know, it's nice. And especially when you do want to make those healthy choices and you're in a pinch, it's like you can just grab it and you're like, oh, wow,
right.
Like the healthy choice is already made for me.
Yeah, perfect.
Because I planned this the Sunday before. So right now for breakfast, I have feta veggie egg cups, and it puts the macros right on this. So we talked about MyFitnessPal, so I can plug this right in. It's a quick ad on the app if you guys have the app, and you can kind of put in exactly kind of the protein, the carbs, the fats that are in your meal.
Yeah,
so,
I got some peanut butter strawberry overnight oats over here, some chia seeds.
I already had a bite of it for my TikTok. It's coming soon.
But guys, it's been such a game changer. They're a Boston-based company, so if you're in the Boston area, they deliver to most Boston cities.
Yeah, and if you guys use code two-tone, you can save $60. And yeah,
Shay's just like
I'm
whipping
like
out the
going in.
hot
I'm like,
sauce over there.
Yeah, guys, my favorite hot sauce is the Fix. I don't know if you guys have had that before, but it is amazing. Right. So yeah, don't mind if I do.
Like,
are we
shopping? Interrupting you over there? Good Lord.
Yeah, we haven't even finished podcasting, and I'm like, it's time to eat.
It's time to eat.
Go for it.
Are we doing one bite? Everyone, I feel bad. Jacqui doesn't have a meal.
No, it's okay. I've eaten. No
We're
worries.
such bad hosts. All right, one bite. Everyone knows the rules. Guys, I have a chia seed overnight oat concoction with some peanut butter. Shay's got her feta cups.
It's kind of funny at podcasts. They're just going to hear us like,
they're going to be like,
on it.
that's cute. All right, ready?
Wow.
Yep. That's the stuff. 10 out of 10. Stop. Is the hot sauce really hot?
Oh my.
The hot sauce, I'm like burning up over here.
She's like snotting and crying. All right. We're going to stop eating and stop being rude. We're going to end off with a little game. So this one, Jacqui, it's called Date or Ditch. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I thought we were going to do 2 cents, but we can do a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. So we want your opinion.
Okay.
All right. So you're out on a date.
Mm-hmm.
He or she orders for you. Date or ditch?
Ditch.
You're like, don't tell me what I'm eating.
No.
You don't know my macros.
And I'm a foodie. Was in the industry for 13 years. Served, cook. No, I know where it's at. If anything, I'm ordering for you.
Yeah.
I'm wearing the pants.
Yeah.
All right. Next. he whips out a food scale at the restaurant and weighs his chicken.
I feel like that would turn Jacqui off.
Yeah, she'd be like, that's so hot.
Erring on the side of like being here and now in the moment. Nah, ditch, man. Get the hell out of here. I've been known to bring Tupperware to weddings and events. I will say that.
I've
No
seen that.
judgment.
No,
No judgment.
no,
Like, do
no.
your thing. Just like, probably not going to be a date too. I won't get up in the middle of it. Like, go ahead. That you probably maybe need to add a little bit more. But I will not be rude and leave right then and there. But I probably.
I'm wondering if they sell like food scales to like go on your keys, like a keychain food scale, because I would totally buy one.
Oh my God, we got to get it back onto Alibaba. It's not a thing.
God. All right, next one. He asked you to pick the restaurant on your first date.
Yeah, date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jack's like, I like to take charge.
Yeah. Okay.
But I have to say, I'm going to chime in and say that, like, I don't know. I feel like it's a turn on if a guy can pick like a good, I don't know, like you kind of like takes control in my eyes.
Oh,
and then
yes.
It says a lot about them too. You're kind of like, oh, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like if you went to a dive bar, like, okay, I get your vibe, or you, I don't know, you know?
I don't know.
I don't know, you know?
I don't know, but do you know? Okay.
All right, I'm going to continue eating.
Go eat your feta cups. All right, next one. This one, I know my answer. He asked to share your food.
Ditch.
Ditch.
Oh, no. I mean, listen, like a little try.
Yeah.
A little try is fine. But I don't know if it's a territory thing or just like excitement. Also, if you've ever been on the opposite side and watched me eat, like it's game over. I am focused. I am like head is down. I am
They're like trying to get to know you, and you're like, anyways.
Yeah, no, I am like so.
I grilled this salmon.
I try to like make eye contact. I try to like be present. I have here and now tattooed on my knuckles. But sometimes when the food comes to the aroma, I can't help it. Like I am in the zone, and until it's over, it's sorry.
So you'll know you found the one when you can look up from your meal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone who can get me to look up from my food.
Exactly.
Okay, that's it. Yeah. All right. He asks for 17 substitutions. Okay, 17 is dramatic, but like, can you sub this, that, whatever?
Modifications,
yeah.
I always say this to people, like, your money is as green as the next person. So if you want something done a certain way, now, like you and I went out to a certain bar not too long ago, and you were like gonna order, it's like some tequila and soda, and I looked at you and I was like, they are known for their cocktails. Right. They are mixologists. You are going to rethink that decision, Miss Shay.
And I was so glad she did, because we talk about like living in the moment and knowing kind of when to reel it in and when to not. And like I would have kind of missed out on like the experience of that particular bar by making some of those like unnecessary substitutions. For that time.
Nuance, right? Like always apply that. So like if you're going somewhere that like you can maybe, tailor things a little bit, and that's fine. But if you're going somewhere and like it's a high-end tapas place and they've put their heart and soul into this food, and it's like, no, like if like you can't do cheese, and don't order things with cheese in it, period, end of story kind of thing.
Yeah, but I was behind someone the other day at Dunkin', and they were like, can I have hot chocolate without the chocolate? And
no.
So you want water? Like hot milk? I don't know. But yeah, just talking about like some weird substitutions. Yeah. I've heard them all.
I've heard them all. But that's the end of our date or ditch. But I think the main thing, and I love what you just said, it's the experience. It's the memories. Food brings everyone together. Everyone goes out to eat. They have people over for dinner because you're bringing people together. You're making memories. Focus on that. Don't focus so much on the macros, the calorie count. It's not what it's about.
No. And if you're interested in like reaching what you think might be a tough goal, like you would do with anything else, like you fix your own engine in your car, you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't try to give yourself your own assessment, the eye doctor and prescribe your own glasses, right? You go to an eye doctor, like reach out to a coach, reach out to a nutritionist, a dietitian, depending on kind of the severity level and like your history and what your desired outcome is. Like ask for help. There's so many resources. I mean, there's great things to read online, and you can self-help, but that might only take you so far. So interacting with a professional is huge, I think.
So I love that. So we're going to basically spoon feed you some resources, not only tough cookies with just your decided meal plans. They do balance. They do
weight loss, keto.
You want it, you name it. It is there. So code two-toned. But also, Jack, I think like you are such a great resource. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't necessarily need to be in the Boston area to kind of do this nutritional coaching with you. So plug yourself. Where can people find you if they are interested? Maybe for some great workouts on your IG or for nutritional coaching.
Yeah. So my Instagram is Jacqui_moves. And Jacqui is spelled a little different. It's JACQUI. _moves. And then, for inquiries for coaching, iwilltraining.com. So there's an intake form, a contact form there. You just fill that out and it sends an email to me, and then we get going.
Bada bing, bada boom.
And it's me. It is me. There's no, I don't have an assistant or anything like that. Like it is
the one and only.
So the one and only. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you, and I think our listeners are really gonna love this episode. With that, you can tone at home.
You can tone from your phone.
But all we ask is that you don't tone alone. Thanks, guys.
Bye.